Hello, boils and ghouls. My name is Ashley, and this week I watched episode 4 and 5 of What We Do in the Shadows. I completely forgot that Sean, the neighbor, even existed as a character on the show. Now, first of all, I would just like to say we got very little of Jerry in these two episodes, and for that I am very thankful because, as I said previously, he annoys me. He and the guide appear in the cold open for episode 4, where they go over their plans for the tri-state area, and literally nobody cares. And when I say literally none of them, like Laszlo was pretending to be on a phone he very obviously does not have, and Nadja is full on asleep on the couch. Now, as I said, I forgot about Sean, the guy that lives next door, and the fact that Laszlo considers him his best friend. And it seems the poor guy has gotten laid off from his TSA job, so he goes to his neighbors that work at the railroad. And I also forgot they told people they work at the railroad. He hopes they can get him an interview. I mean, it's a fair thought to have. If only the place existed. But Laszlo, being the good friend that he is, says, yeah, sure, buddy, don't worry about it. I'll get you an interview. Out of, again, considering Sean his best friend and feeling kind of guilty, I think, that he's mind-wiped this guy so many times his brain is practically mush and probably needs all the help he can get. So he goes with Colin and rents out this office floor in a building where he hires a bunch of actors to play railroad employees. And the interview is done by the monster because Colin thinks the monster can be more useful than what Laszlo wants him to be, which is somebody around just to do grunt work. Honestly, both Sean and the monster do way better at this interview process than I expected them to. So good, in fact, that the monster actually hires Sean for this non-existent job and even gives him a VP position. Now, the whole purpose of Laszlo concocting this fake interview was just to boost Sean's confidence and make him feel more comfortable with the interview process so he can go and submit applications for other jobs, real jobs. That's a really sweet thing for Laszlo to do, right? Even if it didn't really go the way he intended it to, his undead heart was in the right place. Guillermo is still doing quite well at this job that he really isn't qualified for. It really probably shouldn't have. And it's causing him to get a little too big for his britches, you know? After a team dinner, where they're all talking about how much Jordan likes Guillermo and how well he gets things done and praising him and all these good things, Guillermo goes home and kind of catches attitude with Nadja, and that's not a good idea. I wouldn't do that. She turns around and quickly reminds him that if it wasn't for her, he would still be pushing carts in the mailroom, which, like I said, he's not really qualified for this job. So yeah, he probably would still be there. Jordan probably would not have even noticed him. Guillermo wouldn't have been on his radar. And Nadja, she's still on a mission to prove herself to Laszlo, right? That she can exist in the human world safely and blend in, and seems to enjoy her job at Cannon Capital, whatever exactly it is that she does, because we don't really see her doing anything. In an attempt to solidify herself in the company and with Jordan, she brings him a proposal for the fake railroad company Laszlo concocted, which would have been a great idea if all the other employees that came to look at the place didn't immediately realize that it was absolutely fake and there was no company at all. However, they do become interested in the property itself, because apparently Laszlo is paying dirt cheap rent, severely under market, and they're seeing an opportunity there. And that in turn solves the Sean has a fake job problem. Because now Laszlo just goes and says to him, oh, well, the company got bought out, happens all the time, but there's no job for you here, sorry. Sean accepts that pretty well and starts going out applying for VP positions because that's what he thought he had previously. Is he going to get a VP position? Probably not. But he's trying at least. Nandor, though. Nandor had a little bit of a hard time these 2 episodes. He's really loving his job being a janitor at Cannon Capital. Although he might have been making a bit of a nuisance of himself, Jordan finds him really annoying and asks Guillermo to fire him because they seem to know each other. Personally, Jordan is clearly the one in charge here. He should have been the one to do it instead of asking somebody who seems to have some sort of like personal friendship with another employee do the firing. Or better yet, have somebody from HR do it. Don't ask Guillermo to do it. That kind of really sucks. Obviously, Nandor does not take well to this, and I don't think it was the firing exactly that upset him. I think it was the fact that it was Guillermo doing it that upset him. He kind of stumbles over his words when he's explaining to camera what happened, and he starts to say, it's the fact that I was fired by and he stumbles over his words, like he can't call him his familiar anymore because he's not, and maybe he doesn't want to call him his friend because they're a human and a vampire, and he doesn't want to call Guillermo his friend, but I think he was hurt because somebody he secretly considers a friend had to fire him from a job that he obviously enjoyed doing. So he ends up disappearing, Nandor. No one can find him. They're putting up flyers. They're screaming into the wind. And lo and behold, it's the Baron who gets information on the location of Nandor. Apparently he's been hiding out in a factory warehouse place in New Hampshire and is possibly drawing some unwanted attention to vampires with his behavior over there. So when the roommates go to confront him, ask him what's going on, come back home, all of that, they find him alone in this building with a bunch of mannequins. He tells them, I am training my army here. So they think he's lost it a little bit, okay? He maybe had a little bit of a mental break with the firing. And he says, I'm training my army. They're out in the field. I guess the warrior in Nandor isn't totally dead. It just has a different goal now. Instead of conquering the new world, it's strictly just Cannon Capital. Now, the roommates all think, like I said, that he lost it and his army is the mannequins. Which, fair assumption. I think anybody walking into that situation would think the same. And they figured the best way to help him work through whatever he's got going on is to live out the delusion, and they volunteer to join his army. Now, he puts them all right into training, and surprisingly, Colin Robinson really thrives in this sort of environment. Like, he's really good at this warrior thing, and I'm kind of shocked. But this plan of theirs ultimately fails because of course it does. They just end up tying Nandor in chains and throwing him in the trunk of the car, which causes Nandor's army of actual people to show up and rescue him. I guess he was serious about them being in the field. He has come to the realization that this is not what he wants and tells his army to disperse, go find another purpose, like maybe going and getting actual jobs again. But apparently that's not enough direction for these people. And he had to be kind of specific in what he wants them to do. And because he's still mad at Cannon Capital, he directed them in the direction of Dartmouth University because they have a lot of graduates that end up working on Wall Street. I'm sure nothing good will come of that if they even mention it again. But Colin, who I said really, really thrived for some reason, tries to follow them running down the street. And Nandor lassos him with a chain and drags him back to the car. None of them ever seem to care about Colin Robinson. So I guess since he's a vampire, they don't want him running around with humans and thus possibly bringing more attention to the existence of vampires. Like how the Baron said Nandor was doing? Maybe it's a similar thing. Because honestly, why would Nandor care if Colin ran off with his ragtag army of people. Anyway, that's all for this week's video. Subscribe if you want to. Click the like button if you feel like it. If there's something you'd like me to watch, please let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you guys next time. Be excellent to each other. Bye.